Everybody, we are here with the writer-director trio behind the film Doors, Jeff Desom, Saman Kesh, and Dugan O'Neal. Hope I got those names right.
Dugan.
Dugan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Dugan. Yeah, that's better. I like that.
Yeah, it's got a nice ring to it.
These are the gentlemen behind the new film Doors. That is now, well, it's going to be available March 19th on demand and March 23rd on DVD and Blu-ray April 6th. How are you guys?
Good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm well. I'm caffeinated. I'm good to go.
Nice.
And first, I have to say, I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was disturbing and creepy and cool, and I really had a lot of fun watching it. But and I'm sure you get this question a million times, but how did this project come together?
The producer Chris White reached out to me. Him and Brad were working on a sci-fi kind of anthology. It was more, I think at that time it was more horror, and there was a couple of other directors that were attached, and then just over time the concept kind of shifted more into, I think, more of like a cerebral sci-fi, psychological, like horror kind of thing. And around like 2017 we decided to kind of go in a new direction where we were going to kind of explore almost like human psychological trials through these cosmic arbiters, as you will. And so I told Chris, I said, hey, I think it would be great to do an anthology where we kind of lean into very different style directors, telling individual stories, but with the through line of this like kind of omniscient, kind of quote unquote villain, if it is a villain. And then, I reached out to Dugan first. And then a year after that, Jeff, both of them are great friends and peers. And so I think we kind of basically wanted to create something that we felt had our own unique personalities interwoven with this kind of longer sort of thematic journey. And yeah, I don't know if Jeff and Dugan, you guys want to elaborate on that at all?
When did you come on board, Dugan?
Well, I actually acted in Saman's. He talked me into, for better or for worse, acting in
better.
in his. Sometimes director friends will talk me into it, but so I think while I was actually on set, Saman and Kimberly, the other producer, was like, we want to get you to do one of the segments, like pulling me aside and being like, oh, we want you're gonna do one. I was like, okay, let's talk about it. And then cut to like a year later, I was in, and just after seeing what Saman did, I and we talked about doing something like kind of going the opposite direction and having it feel smaller, but still like a kind of a satisfying ending in a way. And also because we had budgetary limitations, and I just didn't want to. Saman's really good at making things feel really big. In his work, and
I was going to say, it doesn't feel like a small budget.
Yeah,
it really doesn't.
I attribute that to the all three of us kind of got our start in music videos, whereas you kind of get used to having very, 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 very restrictive budgets, and you kind of have to come up with a way to, because there's this thing with music videos where like they always look amazing. You have to find a way to kind of make it look great and achieve a lot with a little. So I think that helped in what we were doing, for sure.
No question. And Jeff, your opening segment, Lockdown, was particularly visceral, and I really liked the small scope of it. Can you go into maybe how you came up with this concept and opening the film on this segment, and how you chose this one?
Yeah, I I came in the last. So when I came on board, when Saman asked me, I could already see his segment and Dugan's segment. So we had like there was already like a very clear vision that I could latch onto, and Saman also helped like co-write my segment. So that was also like a big part in like tying it into the rest of the universe. And I think that it was by then the limitations, there were certain budgetary limitations that were pretty acute, so we had to keep it contained in like one location and a handful of characters. So we had to have that. And then we were looking at like what how can we still make something that feels part of a larger universe, of a larger global event that's happening. And yeah, it was fun. It was fun sort of showing it with indicating that there's this huge global event happening without really showing anything of that, and just exploring it with our characters. And
What
through
were
that,
some of the tools that you used to make it feel bigger, even though it was single location?
a lot of it has to do with indirect. They get like all these little snippets of something is wrong, something's happening, and you infuse it with their phones going off, but they can't access their phones, and the teacher is starting to behave erratically, and they know something's up. They don't know exactly what is up. People running out of the school, and they have to sort of piece it all together from all these things. And yeah, I mean, you have, to some extent, yeah, it was, um we didn't show much of the news, or didn't hear anything. So that was, yeah.
But that's kind of how it happens in reality. Like I remember back a year ago in March, just taking my kid to preschool, and then all of a sudden you turn on the news and you hear some kind of scary stuff happening, and you just like kind of have to kind of turn. So you just get these little snippets of what's happening in the world, and I think that's something that I think we did well because both because of budget, but also I think creatively it that's actually kind of how it feels, and even in the Lamage segment, it's like he's got the radio in the beginning, and just hearing jets, like fighter jets and like helicopters and stuff, can start to build that feeling of tension.
Yeah. And what I found fascinating was that each segment kind of took a different approach to danger. Uh, Lockdown was one of absolute fear. Knockers was one of uh, inquisitiveness and trying to exploration. And Lamage, uh, or Jamal, that was one of trying to make contact and trying to establish connection. How did you guys each personally come up with your own concepts? And if so, why did you choose them?
I think Dugan, with Dugan kind of had an idea that was very similar, actually, and I think I don't remember the iterations, but when we just kind of passed a script back and forth. He was working on some stuff, I was working on some stuff, so we like kind of just passed back a version that the producers gave us space and a few months actually to kind of put it together and get something we were happy with, and we would kind of sidebar. And what we ended up on, I think, is probably still the idea of somebody by themselves, alone and isolated, was a Dugan thing for sure. And I remember, I think it took place like in the desert, and it had a different story and a different subtext. And what we have now, I think, is still kind of, so I think for Dugan's, I think it started, I think that idea of the isolated kind of hermit person, like talking to a door, was definitely Dugan's idea. I think with Jeff and I, we just kind of talked about it a bunch. You remember, Jeff? Like we just had so many different iterations of the school story. Like, was it in the gym? Was it like in the woods? Like we didn't I don't remember exactly, but I
I
think
it was an original script or like a very early draft version by Chris White, but I'm not sure anymore. And we sort
yeah.
of used that as a jumping off point, and then, but we always knew it had to like it was going to take place in school, and our characters were going to be these teenagers.
Yeah. Oh, actually, Dugan, we did have a kid's idea at once. Remember, it was going to be like a Stranger Things, kids
Oh yeah,
like riding around on their bikes, and it was just like,
yeah,
and then I think just both of us were like, ah, we're getting big again when we wanted to go down, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that,
That's right.
and then
remember that.
I think we, and I remember Dugan and I both said, you know what, segment 1 should be the kids. Like I think that's
Yeah.
the right way to do it. And so, and I think that's when. That was before Jeff was involved. Dugan jumped in 2017 and Jeff jumped in 2018. So we didn't really know who was doing that first segment at that time.
It's a very unusual script writing process.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it actually was really fun.
First.
Yeah. Shoot the middle first, and then build that around everything else around it.
And then give the bookends.
Yeah. It worked, I think.
Yeah, it did actually. And I was initially like watching it and going, is this an anthology or is this a full narrative? Because you guys, despite the different directions you took, you seemed like you were able to maintain a consistent tone.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have to work very much on that, or were you guys just on the same page the whole time?
I don't think we were ever actually on the same page because we had done it.
Yeah, it seemed like it was kind of a.
But I think we just after seeing Saman's short and also I think Saman helped keep things on track, and just making sure that there's the right bits of each kind of playing with the different genres between sci-fi and horror in all three, and then once we I think it just was a natural process of just kind of, I don't know, how something kind of gets its own momentum and you just kind of, just guide the story how it needs to go. So I don't know if we ever were like, I don't personally remember a lot of conversations of it being like, oh, it has to be like this. It was very organic.
Yeah, I think I said it earlier, is it's kind of like casting a little bit. Like I remember when we approached Dugan, sort of like, whispering into him on, on set, hey, you need to do this. I think we knew that we wanted somebody tonally that would be very different from not only segment 2, but just out of all three. And I knew Dugan could deliver with the actors, and I knew he could deliver with, there's like this element of quirk, but at the same time, like it would be fun to see it get kind of like scary or tense and stuff. And I think Jeff's very technical, and I knew there was a lot of technicalities to be addressed for the first segment. So like it's kind of like a sort of a casting stage where a lot of the formula and ingredient is sort of like pre-planned, but like even though there's no planning actually, it's just like the chemical reaction of Dugan plus Jeff, and it worked out. Sometimes that stuff doesn't work.
Yeah, maybe. We got some elements of luck, I think, too.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, we're running out of time here, but I do have one final question for each of you. If doors suddenly appeared, right now, would you guys go through them?
I'm gonna go with. There's a lot of different variables to play into that, but I'm gonna just go with a hard yes.
I would have said no, probably a little while ago, but some stuff that I've been going through now makes me be like, no, I would definitely surrender to the door,
And Jeff, what about you?
Unless it had, it would take control over me in ways that I couldn't oppose and make me walk through it. I think personally, if I could, I would run. I'd run from it.
Away, you're saying run away. Okay. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for the time. Thank you for creating a really fun sci-fi horror film, and I wish you the best of luck on this release. Everyone, Doors comes out March 19th in select theaters. You should check it out. It also comes out March 23rd on demand, and DVD and Blu-ray on April 6th. Saman, Dugan, Jeff, thank you so much for your time, and best of luck on this release.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Norm. Take care.
Thanks,
All right.
Norm.
Take care.
Good talking.
Bye.